أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. And طبعا the ayat of Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the ayat about the inheritance in Surah An-Nisa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarified the most of the cases or the basics of al-mirath or the inheritance in that surah. And we wonder that all the ayat that we have, just a few ayat, they cover all the cases that we have in the mirath. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the ayah number 7, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِّمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. طبعا this ayah, we had a case at that time. The meaning of the ayah for men is a share of what the parents and the close relative leave. And for women is a share of what the parents and the close relatives leave, be it little or much, and obligatory share. There was a man, his name is Aus, and this man, he died. And he had a wife and 3 daughters, young, and a young boy, something like that. And he had 2 brothers or cousins, and they were so close to him. And then when he died, he had inheritance, he had something he left behind him. Then the 2 brothers, they said that we will not give the wife and the daughters or the young kids because they are young. Also, in the same time, they are women, and we don't give the inheritance to the women. And this is from the actions of the Jahiliyyah, because some people, they may do that till now, in the Muslim countries or something like this. They don't let the women inherit from the deceased. If someone died, they prevented them to get the share in the inheritance. And in that ayah, the scholars, they said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the 5 benefits in that ayah. The first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed that the women, they have a share. And the second thing that He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ. Yani we have a reason or sabab, for the inheritance, al-qaraba, that he is a relative. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed that is between the men and women. If a woman, she dies, sure she has men, they will inherit from her. And also he said subhanahu wa ta'ala about the kids. Also the kids, they have the share. And the 2 brothers, and the ayah revealed about them, they said that the man that he will take from the share, he has to have something like the war, he shared in a war or battlefield or something like this. And also, it has nothing in the ayah. And you don't have to have something like that to get the inheritance. And finally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ. Even if it's a little share, or a little inheritance, or a little wealth, or a big, this or that, they have to take the shares of the inheritance. So it was a new revelation, because they came to the Prophet ﷺ asking him about that, and the Prophet ﷺ said, wait till the revelation comes. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't give something like the rules from his imagination. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. Now, then the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا حَضَرَ الْقِسْمَةَ أُولُو الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ فَارْزُقُوهُمْ مِنْهُ وَقُولُوا لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. This ayah, some of the scholars, they said about that ayah that it was abrogated by the next ayah. And the majority, they said no, it is this ayah, it is an active ayah, and we have to apply it. What is the meaning of the ayah? He said subhanahu wa ta'ala what means, and when other relatives and orphans and the needy are present at the time of division, when the people, they divide the shares of the inheritance in the home and something like this, then provide for them something out of the state or out of state and speak to them words of appropriate kindness. وَقُولُوا لَهُمْ قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. طبعا, when the inheritance is divided, some relatives, they may come to the home, helping the people, something like this. Suppose that he has something that, or the deceased, he had something to be divided, something that needs help to be held or to be held or something like this, or to be moved. So some people, they come from the relatives to help. And that ayah said that if the needy and the poor, the orphans, or someone from the relatives comes to the time that you divide the shares, you have to give him something. Something is not from the share, but something like a sadaqah. And when you divide, you have like $100,000. So give this 500, this 1,000. That's it. Something just you make a sadaqah, and also you like strengthen the ties in the between you and your relatives. You know, وإذا حضر قسمة أولي القربى واليتامى والمساكين. Some relatives, some they are orphans, and some they are masakin, they are needy. So give them some risk from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is as a gift, as a sadaqah, not as a share. Because we have something also, the will. Yani if the will says something, give so and so a share, you give him. But I have to give him a sadaqah, already he had something, or he has something. Because sometimes the people, they have their wealth, and they write something for some relatives, they help them in their life. You know, يعني واحد بس he left and he knows that someone, one of his relatives is far from status. So he helped him in the life and something like this. When his sons and daughters, they come to share or to take the shares, he has the wasiyyah, the will for someone of his relatives. Because wallahi, he did this with me, he did that with me. You know, طيب, al-wasiyyah also, it has conditions. Al-wasiyyah is not more than the third of the wealth. Yeah, don't let someone, he thinks that, okay, I have the wealth, so I write something like the half of the house is for my this and that. And the other half of my house, this is only what I have. Okay, I give it to my relatives, my sons and my daughters and my wife. No, that is not right. You have to have the wealth in just in 1/3 of what you have. And when you leave something, you leave it as a sadaqah. It is a sadaqah for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he legalized that as a sadaqah for you. Yeah, suppose that you live all your life, and alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you some. And you leave it everything for your relatives, that you have something to the akhirah. You know? And this is the hikmah, the wisdom behind that we have a wealth in 1/3 of the wealth. So you can keep something, as the Prophet ﷺ, he recommended some, to keep something to you in the akhirah. You know? طبعا وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا. Suppose that we have the division of the inheritance, and some relatives, they attend, and just we have like few boxes or something like this. We should say for him قولا معروفا, something nice, something appropriate. It is kind words, you know. طيب. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلْيَخْشَى الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضَعَافًا خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. And let those, the people, they fear about their relatives or their guardians, fear injustice, as if they themselves had left to be offspring behind, and feared for them. So let them fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and speak words of appropriate justice. This ayah is very, very important ayah. Everyone fears about his family, you know, and everyone fears that if he dies, what his family and the weak kids they will do after him, you know. And كما تدين تدان, as you do, you will find. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to us here, you fear about your kids, you fear about your family, you have weak wife, you have weak kids, you fear about them if you die or something like this, subhanAllah. Like what you have to do, فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. And don't do something with the people in their inheritance, like any dhulm, any injustice, you know. Don't do something with the kids. They may have something from their hires, so they got something, and you wrong them. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your kids may be in the same position, you know, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after few ayat, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا, Allah mentioned that after that, the next ayat. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the people, they eat or they steal the money, the wealth of the orphans. They eat fire in their bellies. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. You know, and in the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the orphan, because the orphan, he has an issue in Islam. You know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the orphan cries or weeps, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to him, من ذا الذي أبكى من وريت أباه في التراب. Whoever, who is the person, he who that he makes the orphan cries, you know, by Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about himself. Whoever makes him settled, he has no jaza or reward with me except the Jannah. You know? And the Prophet ﷺ said, if you wipe over the head of the orphan, you have hasanat as you touches from his head. So the orphan, he has something, an issue in Islam. If you find someone, he has something wrong in his life, and he had orphans, sure he wronged them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not leave it, or his life comes, or goes peacefully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish him. Anyone wrongs the orphans, Allah will defend them in the life. So, وَلْيَخْشَى الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضَعِيفًا. If you fear about your kids behind you, don't do something that you don't like for your kids. And fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. And when you come to that, this is a great word, وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. When you have something, you have to be fair, and you have to apply the justice that we lose it already. You know, say the haqq. Wallahi ya akhi, we need you for the shahada, to witness the haqq. This qawlan sadida, yes, this qawlan sadida. You know, because sometimes we have some people, they don't say the haqq. So they don't say al-qawl sadida. وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Let them speak words of appropriate justice. In any case, in anything, this is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do so, Allah will defend your kids. Allah will defend your family behind you. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا. Whoever they indeed those who devour the property of the orphans unjustly are only consuming into their bellies fire. طبعا, these are from the hukuk in the life that we give the orphans their rights. And be careful that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the authority or the responsibility concerning someone from the orphans, be careful to eat or to take from his wealth something unjustly or something unjustly. You know, because it is a fire in the bellies in the day of judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the Prophet ﷺ some cases, some in Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, you know, when the people, they have punishment in Al-Barzakh or in the Akhirah, as they did in the life. And here also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَكُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا. It's a fire in the life, maybe in the life, maybe in the Akhirah, both of them. وَسَيُصْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا. They will come to the fire at the end. At the end of the life, in the Akhirah, they have the fire as a punishment in this or for that kabira, because the Prophet ﷺ, he enumerated the eating the wealth of the orphans as a major sin. You know, And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the inheritance. And this ayah from the mu'jizat. Wallahi, this from the miracles in our life. And in this ayah, from the miracles in our life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, He didn't advise, and He said that يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Allah instructs you, okay, concerning your children. In the whole Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always instructed the people of the sons and daughters for their parents. Except in just that ayah and another ayah, okay, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Allah gives you or instructs you in your kids in that matter. Because also this is from the huquq, because we have the inheritance, we have a lot of cases need to be clarified, this halal or haram. Like, I give you an example, not yani, just like collect all the examples that we had before. Like someone says, Wallahi, I need to write my wealth to my daughters and my sons and my wife or wives. Okay? So I need to write them according to my thinking. Wallahi, I have a house. Suppose that we have like 5 apartments. I have 3 daughters and 2 sons. So I give everyone 1 after my death. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in that ayah, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ. Allah instructs you concerning your children for the male, what is equal to the share of 2 females. Now I need to give something is astaghfirullah. It's differently from what Allah instructed me. I think this is better to give every girl 1 share like that boy. After my death, they will inherit according to my imagination or my thinking. This halal or haram. You know, that's it. So we have here something, something is very important. Allah said that, instructed you to do that, and you have something else. You said, Allah, yani, okay, alhamdulillah. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I have something better. Astaghfirullah. You know, وما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيرة من أمرهم. It's not allowed for the believers, a man or a woman. You know, we need to go back to our homes because it takes time. But when you, the Prophet ﷺ also said something that's very important about the inheritance. He said that because it is called ilm al-fara'id. Ilm al-fara'id, the knowledge or the science of the shares. The Prophet ﷺ said, تعلموا الفرائض وعلموها الناس فإنها نصف العلم. Learn al-fara'id, the inheritance, and teach it to the people as it is the half of the knowledge. It's the first thing. And the other thing is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, He will take the knowledge from the earth. You know that? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one time He will take the knowledge from the earth. And He will take the Quran from the masahif one time. And the people at that time, whenever the masahif, they will not find anything. You know? These are at the end of the time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the first knowledge will be taken from the people is ilm al-fara'id and ilm al-qira'at, the most of the recitations. Like we hear, like some brothers, they recite different recitations. It is a science. You know how many qira'at we have? We have 10 qira'at. You know, Maliki yawm al-din, Maliki yawm al-din. اهدنا الصراط اهدنا الصراط. You know, عليهم عليهم and so on. You know, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the inheritance as the first science, and the people will go searching for someone to